Have you ever felt a deep, silent pain in your soul? A kind of ache that no one around you can seem to understand? A mysterious weight pressing on your spirit, not from the outside but from within, setting you apart in ways you can't explain? You smile, but something eternal stirs behind your eyes. You walk among the crowd, but you've never truly belonged. If that resonates, this video is not a coincidence. It's a divine alignment, because what you're feeling is not ordinary. It's not emotional, it's spiritual. And it only happens to those who've been marked, not by the world, but by heaven itself. Today we're going to expose 5 spiritual pains that only the chosen ones of God experience. These aren't just random sufferings. They are divine signals that your life carries a calling far greater than what you've seen. But be warned, what you're about to hear may disrupt your current understanding of yourself and unlock a part of you that's been hidden by design. Stay until the end, and because by the time we finish, you won't see your pain the same way ever again. If you feel this message already pulling at your spirit, pause for just a second. Hit the like button and comment, "I feel this," right now. That small act activates something bigger than you realize, and it helps this word reach other chosen ones who are still in hiding. Now, let's begin. The pain of divine isolation. There's a kind of silence that only the chosen ones know. It's not the silence of a quiet room. It's the silence of spiritual separation. You can be surrounded by people, laughter, noise, and still feel like you're standing in the middle of a desert that no one sees, a desert that God Himself led you into. But here's the twist. That isolation is not an accident. It's not rejection. It's not abandonment. It's divine strategy. When God chooses someone for something great, the first thing He often does is remove the noise. He silences the voices. He cuts the cords. He removes the comfort. Why? Because He doesn't raise warriors in the spotlight. He forges them in hidden places. Think of Moses. He was raised in a palace, trained among royalty, but God didn't speak to him there. No. God waited until Moses was alone, exiled, forgotten. And then, from a burning bush in the middle of nowhere, destiny called his name. Chosen ones are hidden on purpose. You're not invisible because you're unworthy. You're invisible because God is preserving what's rare. He won't let the world handle what it's not ready for. But here's the most painful part. No one around you will understand it. They'll ask why you're distant, why you pull away, why you isolate. But how do you explain that your spirit no longer breathes well in shallow waters? God is detoxing you from everything that used to define you. Friends that were seasonal, places that numbed your potential, patterns that disguised your power. You're not losing your life. You're being repositioned for it. And in this season of divine isolation, your ears will begin to hear differently. Your dreams will intensify. Your discernment will sharpen. Heaven will get louder as the world gets quieter. But be careful. This is the moment the enemy whispers the loudest. He'll try to convince you that you've been forgotten, when in truth, you've been set apart. This pain, it's holy, and the ones who feel it are the ones God is preparing to move in silence and then emerge in power. You may be hidden now, but heaven knows exactly where you are. And when the time is right, you won't just return. You'll rise. Stay with me, because the next pain will hit deeper. It's not about isolation anymore. It's about the people you thought would never walk away, but did. The pain of rejection. There is a specific kind of wound that cuts deeper than isolation. It's not silence from the outside world. It's silence from the people you loved the most. Rejection. Not from strangers, but from those who once held your heart, the ones you thought would never turn their back on you. And yet, one by one, they disappear, slowly, or suddenly. It starts subtly. They no longer understand your words. Your fire makes them uncomfortable. Your truth convicts them. They say you've changed, and they're right. But what they don't see is that God has called you, and calling always comes with a cost. The chosen ones carry an anointing that exposes what's hidden, and when light enters the room, not everyone celebrates. Some retreat, some attack, some leave. And when they go, it hurts, deeply. But here's the divine mystery. Rejection is often heaven's redirection. Even Jesus and the Son of God was rejected in his own hometown. They said, "Isn't this just the carpenter's son?" They couldn't see his divinity because they were too familiar with his humanity. And the same thing is happening to you. People can't receive your new level because they're addicted to your old identity. But here's the revelation. God will intentionally allow certain people to misunderstand you, not to punish you, but to protect the purity of your assignment. You weren't called to fit in, you were called to stand apart. And if everyone had stayed, you would have compromised. You would have dimmed your light just to be accepted. What feels like abandonment is actually alignment. God is subtracting the distractions before the elevation. The throne is never crowded, and the higher he takes you, the more alone it might feel, but the more pure your path becomes. And yes, there will be moments where the sting of rejection feels unbearable. You'll question yourself. You'll cry in silence. You'll feel like maybe you did something wrong. But let me tell you something no one else will. You were rejected because you carry something they weren't ready to honor. You've outgrown the room, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And God is not about to let you shrink back just to make others feel comfortable. He loves them, but he chose you. So wipe your tears, chosen one. That door didn't close by accident. That friendship didn't end without reason. That silence from them. It's God's way of making space for something greater, something they were never meant to be part of. And what's coming next will make every rejection make sense. Because the next spiritual pain isn't about who left. It's about what you now carry and why it weighs so heavily on your soul. The pain of spiritual sensitivity. There's a weight you carry that few can see and even fewer can understand. You walk into a room, and before a single word is spoken, your spirit feels everything. The tension, the sadness, the deception, hiding behind the smiles, the heaviness in the atmosphere. You sense it all. And it's not because you're emotional. It's because you're spiritually sensitive. Chosen ones are born with a heightened radar. While others laugh in ignorance, you feel the undercurrent. Where others are numb to evil, you detect it. You can't explain how, you just know. Someone speaks, and your spirit immediately discerns what their mouth won't say. But here's the painful part. That level of sensitivity is exhausting. You get drained in crowds. You feel the weight of other people's pain. You carry burdens that don't even belong to you. And sometimes you find yourself crying for reasons your mind can't explain, because your spirit has seen what your eyes have not. You may have been told you're too sensitive, too intense, too much. But what they call too much, God calls equipped. Because this sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a divine mechanism, it's discernment, and it's been placed inside you as a shield, a compass, and a filter. The enemy tries to twist this gift. He wants to overwhelm you with it, to make you isolate yourself, to numb you, to make you believe that this constant awareness is a curse. But hear this clearly. Your sensitivity is not a curse, it's a confirmation. You were never meant to blend into the crowd. You were meant to intercede for it. That's why you can feel what others can't, because God trusts you to carry it. Your tears are prophetic. Your silence is warfare. Your intuition is the voice of the Spirit prompting you to move, to pause, to speak, or to stay still. But here's what most never realize. The chosen feel deeply not just to survive, but to protect. You're the one who senses danger before it strikes, who dreams warnings others ignore, who feels warfare in your sleep. That's not imagination, that's intercession. And yes, this pain isolates you. It makes you feel like an alien in your own life. But you are not broken. You're awakened. The world has gone numb. And you were sent as a reminder, a divine alarm clock in a sleeping generation. So don't suppress it. Don't apologize for it. Don't try to shut it off. Instead, ask God to train it, to sharpen it, to help you carry it with wisdom and power. Because this pain is the price of being spiritually awake in a world that's spiritually blind. And if you think this gift feels heavy, wait until we uncover the pain of waiting when you've done everything right. And still, heaven seems silent. The pain of delay. There is a pain that feels like slow suffocation, not because something is actively attacking you, but because nothing seems to be moving. You pray with fire and hear silence. You fast with tears and still see no shift. You obey every instruction, and yet the promise feels stuck in a place you cannot reach. This is the pain of delay, a divine pause that breaks your sense of time, but not because God has forgotten, because God is forging. See, when you're chosen, you don't just receive blessings, you're entrusted with weight. And that kind of trust takes time to shape, because if God gives you the crown before your character is ready, the crown will crush you. Look at David, a young boy, anointed by a prophet, chosen by heaven. And yet, after receiving his call, where did he go? Not to the throne. Back to the sheep. Back to the field. Back to obscurity. Because heaven doesn't rush greatness. It prepares it in secret. Delay for the chosen is never wasted. Every moment you feel ignored, every door that doesn't open, every yes that turns into a no, it's not rejection. It's refinement. God is not just preparing the promise for you. He's preparing you for the promise. But let's be honest, waiting breaks something in us. It stretches the soul. It challenges faith. It makes you question if you heard God correctly. And the enemy uses that gap to whisper lies. If God really called you, why hasn't it happened yet? If you were really chosen, why are you still struggling? But listen closely. Delay is not denial. It's development. In the delay, your roots grow deeper. Your discernment sharpens. Your worship becomes purer, not based on what you receive, but on who He is. That's when God knows He can trust you, when you still praise Him with empty hands. The delay is your wilderness. And wilderness seasons are sacred. It was in the wilderness that Jesus defeated temptation. It was in the wilderness that Moses encountered fire. It was in the wilderness that John the Baptist's voice prepared the way. Delay is God's classroom, and your soul is in session. So no, you're not behind. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And when God moves, He moves suddenly. What took years to build can shift in a single moment, but only when the foundation is ready to hold the weight. And that's exactly where you are. Between the promise and the power. Between the vision and the vindication. A holy tension, but don't give up. Because the next pain is one that most people never even talk about. The hidden burden that follows the chosen from childhood. A spiritual pressure that feels almost too heavy to carry, but impossible to ignore. The pain of carrying a heavy calling. There is a unique weight that presses against the soul of every chosen one. It's not depression. It's not anxiety. It's not fatigue. It's something deeper. A constant, unshakable pressure in your spirit. Like you're meant to be doing more, even when you're already doing your best. A divine restlessness that refuses to let you settle for a normal life. This is the pain of carrying a heavy calling. And it doesn't come with applause. It comes with agony. From the time you were young, you felt it, didn't you? That sense that your life had layers others couldn't see. While others played, you pondered. While others chased popularity, you were drawn to solitude, to the stars, to the whispers of eternity. You knew. Somehow, you were different. Not better, but burdened. Because when God marks you for something massive, He places the seed of destiny in your spirit, and that seed starts growing long before it ever manifests. And you feel that growth as pressure. You look around and think, why do I feel so overwhelmed when nothing's even happened yet? That's because you're carrying a mission that hasn't been birthed, but it's alive inside of you. And just like a mother feels the pain before the child arrives, you feel the spiritual labor of a future that's too big to ignore. But here's what they don't tell you about calling. It doesn't always feel holy. Sometimes it feels heavy. Sometimes it makes you question if you're the right person. Sometimes it makes you want to run like Jonah, hide like Moses, break like Elijah. You wonder, God, why me? Why does it feel like too much? And that's when heaven whispers the truth. It feels too big because it is too big for you alone. That weight is designed to drive you into deeper dependency on God, because if you could carry it in your own strength, it wouldn't require faith. But this calling isn't built on your ability, it's built on your obedience. Think of Esther, a young woman pulled from obscurity into a royal palace, not to enjoy luxury, but to risk everything for her people. She didn't ask for the assignment. She didn't feel ready. But the calling didn't wait for her confidence. It waited for her yes. And just like Esther, you weren't called because you're perfect. You were called because God knew you'd say yes, even with trembling hands. He knew you'd feel the weight and still walk forward. That's the kind of soul heaven can trust. So if you've been feeling this heavy pressure, this spiritual tension, this invisible mission pulsing inside you, don't run from it. It's not a curse. It's a confirmation. You were born for this, not later, not someday, but now. You've been anointed for such a time as this. And now, everything we've uncovered is about to connect. Because all these pains, the isolation, the rejection, the sensitivity, the delay, the calling, they weren't random. In the final moments of this video, you're about to see what they really mean. Don't look away. What's coming next will shift everything. Listen closely, because this is not the end of a video. This is the beginning of your activation. If you've felt these 5 deep soul-shaking pains, you're not broken. You're set apart. You're not cursed. You're called. You're not lost. You're located by heaven. These weren't just random struggles. They were spiritual signals. Divine echoes confirming that God is moving in your life, even in the silence. You've been walking through fire, not to be consumed, but to be refined. You've been misunderstood, not because you're wrong, but because you're righteous. You've been delayed, not denied. You are chosen, and let me tell you something the enemy doesn't want you to hear. Your pain has always had a purpose. It's been shaping your character, breaking your pride, awakening your spirit, preparing your platform. Heaven has been watching you, and now it's time. God is raising up His remnant, warriors forged in secret, voices that can't be silenced, souls that won't bow to darkness. And you, yes, you, are one of them. So if your spirit is burning right now, if something inside you is stirring, don't scroll away in silence. Declare it. Write it in the comments right now. I'm chosen. Let that be your prophetic agreement. We're going to read every single one and cover you in prayer. You're not alone anymore. You've found your tribe. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to wake up. Subscribe so you never miss a word from heaven. And remember this, the world tried to bury you, but they didn't know. You were a seed. Now rise, walk in fire, and shake the earth. You are chosen.